And we're on. Introducing Dave DeWalt. You're on mute at the minute, I think, but we'll it's a good
Oh,
start. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing really well, Joseph. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it, and look forward to chatting.
Oh, mate, it's good to see you. I see you at every single conference I attend. Like I said just before we went live, I haven't had the chance to say hello in person, but very much glad to be able to do that now.
Yeah,
Where
likewise. Good to see you.
where are you based at the moment? Whereabouts are you?
I'm actually, I live now in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona,
Right.
and spend a lot of my time in San Francisco and Washington, D.C. with all the roles and things that I do. But I physically moved to Arizona now and enjoy the desert a little bit and golfing and all the other things here in Arizona. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I was going to say, I see you on LinkedIn. You're pretty much everywhere. Like, did you get any chance to spend Thanksgiving with the family? Was it a busy one?
Did. Yeah, I did. I got a chance. I did a double turkey Thanksgiving. I did one here in Arizona, and then I did another in my with my parents in Philadelphia area where I grew up, Pennsylvania. And when you got two turkeys in a 2 day period, it's a little much, but it was really fun.
Talking about growing up, I normally run through the career trajectory and where you've been and how you've got to where you are, Dave. But before I do that, I want to ask you, what would you have been if you hadn't got into this space?
Oh gosh,
Uh,
I'm not sure, but I was born. I hate to say born leader because it's a really weird adage to kind of say, but ever since I was a little kid, I was just this overachieving, sort of crazy OCD kind of kid. I grew up in near Reading, Pennsylvania,
mhm.
so cold regions, kind of factories and things going on. And my parents worked in factories. I grew up near a candy factory and a battery plant, and it was just very blue collar. And I just saw myself doing something much different than staying right there, and had dreams of trying to be the best at something in the world, and
Yeah,
ultimately try to do that through sports and through learning and through education and then ultimately through my career.
love that. And that's where I was going with it, your sports, because I interviewed Chris Lehman from Safeguard Cyber, and I can't remember how we come on to talking about you, but he said, did you know that you was close to becoming like a professional wrestler or going to the Olympics? Is that right?
Well, I wouldn't say professional wrestler because that has a weird connotation, but I grew up from the time I was 6 years old, I guess kindergarten, first grade timing wrestling, and I wrestled through college and was an NCAA Division I All American, and ultimately sort of gave up on it a little after the Olympic trials, but really loved the sport of
Yeah.
discipline and determination. And although I didn't miss the weight loss all the time of starving myself to make weight, but it was a great lesson of life of just individual sport with a team
Yeah.
component, toughness, discipline, grind it all the time. And a lot of that stuff transfers to business too.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's talk about the business career then, Dave. How did it all start, and how did you get into the industry?
Sometimes life is full of crossroads and just decisions you look back on, Joseph, that you just go, wow, I'm so glad I made it. My background, obviously, I mentioned, was grew up in Pennsylvania. I wrestled at the University of Delaware and graduated with a computer science and electrical engineering degree, CSEE it was called back then. And I really was trying to figure out what to do. I got recruited quite a bit for jobs in the local area, but I sort of read that Silicon Valley was starting to happen. And I decided to drive my car across the country with no job and no money and all my belongings in a little Pontiac T1000. Got to look that one up.
I
And
will.
my car across and, ultimately made my way to Silicon Valley. And I kind of look back on that decision as one of the best ones I ever made because I ultimately, came into a window where Silicon Valley was really growing and expanding. And instead of using my computer science and engineering degree, I got a first job in telemarketing. And I remember my dad like, telemarketing, like,
Yeah.
didn't you just do a degree in engineering? I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to sell our DBMSs over the telephone. And RDBMS stood for Relational Database Management Systems. Back then, I got a job at Oracle. And I was in telemarketing in the direct marketing division. And talk about another lesson of life, like wrestling. All of a sudden, I had to dial a phone 100 times a day. And if you ever dial cold calls, like 99 of them will hang up on you. And you've got to learn how to use personality. You've got to learn how to use charisma, and obviously have a lot of stamina. And I really turn out to love it. And I ended up being one of the top sales reps every year at Oracle, got promoted, I think 4 or 5 times during my career there, and really set myself on a path that now that I kind of tasted Silicon Valley, now I really wanted more. And I always had a dream to be a CEO and to really build companies and operate companies. And that started my path in that direction.
Love it. So what was your first CEO position? Was that documentation?
Documentum. Yeah.
Documentum, sorry, not documentation, Documentum. Yeah.
Pretty close, though.
Yeah.
I was the president of 2 companies prior. And then I took over as my first CEO role, which ironically was also a public company at the time, Documentum. And I had a great mentor. His name's Jeff Miller. And sometimes you just need good mentors in life. And I was in my 30s, early 30s, being a CEO of a public company, which may not sound, that old now, but back then it was pretty young. And for the most part, I ended up really doing well at the company, ultimately sold it to EMC for $1.9 billion and really had a great outcome. And then began learning at EMC and then took the job at McAfee, where I became CEO there and really helped grow McAfee into a great company and sold that for $7.7 billion.
Yeah.
And biggest all cash deal, which I still have the check for, or not the check, but like the wire transfer, which is kind of a nice check. And just love being a CEO ever since.
Yeah, nice. So I know you had a couple of gigs after McAfee and now the founder and CEO of NightDragon. Let's skip straight to NightDragon. What are you guys? What are you doing? What do you get up to right now?
Yeah, I've really wanted to build a company from scratch, from the beginning. And all my other roles since I graduated college and university was taking over for somebody else. And I really loved the idea of creating my own idea. And I wanted to prove to myself I could kind of do it. And boy, is it humbling, right? You're like, okay, so who's going to create that presentation? Wait, that's me. Who's going to create that budget? Wait, that's me. And you have to kind of learn how to do everything. How am I going to get that website up and running, or that .com, or that registration, all the things
Yeah.
And these are things I sort of took for granted before. But I really wanted to build something, and I wanted something that could be a legacy, and I wanted to do good. I always say it's like mission, money, fun, learning. And at each stage, my hierarchy of needs changed a little bit. And I ended up loving the mission of cyber and national security and the idea of doing good. And then, of course, learning and having fun with people you want to work with. And of course, money comes along with that. But at this point, I've really tried to create a mission, which is NightDragon's motto. It's called Securing Our World for Tomorrow. So securing our world for tomorrow. So the idea there is to put investments to work, capital to work, not just my own money and our team's money, but other people's money as a venture capital platform, and help companies grow, help companies hyperscale. And that's the phase we focus on, is the growth stage. So companies around 20 million of revenue to about 80 million of revenue. Our job at NightDragon is to take them from 20 or 50 or 80 million of revenue and double and triple their revenues, and potentially double and triple their revenue multiples by really creating a platform to scale. And that's what I learned as a CEO, how to do that. And we have an amazing team of people now. We're over 100 people between the employees and the advisors now. So we went from party of one to 100.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're just getting started. And I just, again, love what I do. And it's been a real honor to work with great founders and great CEOs. And I kind of laugh tongue in cheek, Joseph, because now I like, hey, it's way easier telling CEOs what to do than do it myself. So I find myself in a fun position sometimes, being able to teach my lessons that I learned, both good and bad, and maybe how help with wisdom a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, so how many investments have you actually made so far?
Well, let's see. NightDragon's Growth Fund 1, which is the first institutional fund, we did 13 transactions,
Right.
13 companies. Before that, we did 14 in the prior fund, and I did 11 in the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Nice.
one will be 12 to 15 again. So each of the four incarnations of NightDragon, this being the fourth one, and only the second institutional fund, we would do about 12 to 15 investments.
Right.
So each one's about a 4 to 5 year cycle. And this is our fourth go around with all of that now. And now we have a lot more capital, a lot more people. And my goal is to build kind of like an Andreessen Horowitz for growth and cyber. And I always
Yeah.
loved Mark Andreessen, so I thought he was an innovator. So that's what I'm trying to do, is build something special and unique.
Passing on some of your lessons learned to founders, obviously with such a successful career, there must have been some hiccups or some balls ups or notable stuff that went wrong, right? What advice do you give? I guess every founder. Is there anything specific or anything you look for in a founder? You think, yeah. Well, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I have a lot of advice and learnings, and mistakes I've made and along the way. And this is a guy who sat on 45 boards, 17 years and 68 public company quarters as CEO. Lots of investments we just talked about, lots of chairman roles, mentoring CEOs. Several times in my career, I took over for a founder as CEO, so I had to work with that founder. So you learn it from each direction. Joseph, at the end of the day, I always say these 4 H's, and it sounds a little
Okay.
corny, but I feel like it's really important for founders. And the 4 H's stand for humility, keep your feet on the ground, know where you came from, just really try to be a good, humble person at the end of the day. Success has a weird way of making people change. Fame, fortune, power kind of corrupt people. And humility is really important in everything you do. And I try my best for that every day too. I always say honesty is really important, right? So whether we want to hear it on the board or not, transparency, very open communication, open, honest communications is the only way to run a company. And that's honesty both up to your board and down to your employees. The more honest you are with them, the better you're going to attach them emotionally to the company and to yourself as a leader. So I find that, and a lot of times that transparency is not there with founders and CEOs sometimes as well as it should be. So people respond more in a crisis to you than they do in the good times to you. So the more you are humble and honest, the others, I kind of look at hard work, be the leader, be the hard work leader, lead from the front, and, be the hardest worker in the company, bar none, every day. And so there's always work-life balance, but be the leader and own it in hard work. And then the last one is hunger, ambition, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to, see what it is you want to accomplish. I always love the saying, Martin Luther King first said it, if you can see it, you can be it. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And if you can't see it and tell it to your employees and to your shareholders, constituents, you can't be it. So I always think vision, strategy, really important as part of a makeup of everything. And then the last thing I always tell them, Joseph, is there's one thing engineering, like product engineering, and then there's what they call human engineering. And that is as important as the product engineering. And a lot of people kind of look and like, human engineering. So like, how do you create a team? How do you create a culture? How do you create a company? How do you rally that company around a cause? How do you emotionally attach everyone to that cause? Because it's amazing what humans can do when motivated. And if you can create that power of attachment to that mission, to that vision, to that strategy, to that results, amazing things happen. So, I find human engineering really important. How do you create diversity amongst your team? This isn't just like, oh, wow, we have enough women and men on the board. I mean, I'm talking diversity of background, color, nationality, gender, of course, sexual preference, doesn't matter. Like, surround yourself with the best people that create the most diversified views and listen to them and manage them and motivate them, it makes a world of a difference. And I'm very proud of, my career when it came to diversity and it came to leadership. In fact, many of them I'm working with at NightDragon are still with me 20 years later. So kind of fun, or I'm with them. Maybe I'm with them because I'm still with them. So, yeah.
I saw you just hired Barbara Massa, and that was something I was going to ask you. How important has it been keeping those sort of people quite close to you? And you literally just said it then, because Barbara, I think you knew, 2 decades? How long you know her?
Yeah, I know her by her maiden name, so that's saying something. So yeah, I mean, surround yourself with people better than yourself, right? And Barbara's a great example. I've come to deeply respect her. She's been like not just a talent manager, then a chief people officer, but then a chief operating officer, but more importantly, an amazing culture officer. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I was alluding to. I mean, mm-hmm. Like she's got like the mama gene, I call it. Like, the mom wants to hug you and take care of you, and but powerful and strong. And she has that skill to help heal people and heal cultures when they need, but also motivate cultures when they need it too. And so she's just been a credible consigliere to me over the years, but she's one of many that we have at NightDragon like that. And each one's kind of an all-star at their position. And that's what you try to do, is just hire people better than yourself in every role you can, and listen to them and motivate them, and amazing things happen.
Yeah, awesome. I saw you also hired Doreen Banyul over here for an EMEA. What's the sort of plan for NightDragon over in EMEA then? Is that your first Europe hire as such? I know she's in Israel, but covering EMEA.
Yeah, so kind of the 1.0 or 2.0 versions of NightDragon was mostly American soiled, right? It was me, then it was, a couple more, then a couple more, and a couple more. And mostly we focused in on kind of the Silicon Valley, Washington, D.C. Beltway, and, sort of kind of the United States for the most part. We did a lot of transactions in Israel, but I didn't have employees in Israel. So think of us as almost an American-Israeli kind of deal sourcing and fund platform. But now we're starting to scale, and I'm looking to really build, again, something that's never been built before, which is an operating platform on top of an investment platform. So the way I think of reimagining venture capital after all these years was to build something of real incredible value to these founders. And it's not just capital, here's money, and, sit on the board and, listen to board meetings, but like really create value, create scale for them, and do it in a way that creates a powerful return for them and for us. So we've been building out the operating team and the investment team, and now we're starting to go global, building out the investment team and the operating team. So Doreen, with all her experience, an amazing individual as well, is able to really help us with deal sourcing, fundraising, partnerships in Israel, but we'll be starting to build out Europe as well and Asia. Mm. And as we go global, you'll see more and more personnel from us. And before we're done, we'll have 1,000 employees here at NightDragon.
Love that. World domination, baby. What about when you're looking investments and who to fundraise into? What do you look for from like an investment thesis?
Yeah, I always have letters because it's easy to remember.
Love that.
H's and T's, Joseph. So here's my T's. 3 T's.
We'll go for the alphabet.
You got 4 H's and 3 T's. I got 3 A's to tell you about later too.
All right.
But 3 T's are the way I think about it, and I'll simplify it for a second. It's called team, tech, and TAM. Mm-hmm. So what do you look for? First we look for the biggest threats and the risks in the world, whether, and in this day and age, we're having a lot of threats and risks, right? We're living in an end of an era of globalization, and now a decoupling, de-risking, nationalistic kind of world, multipolar world, whatever way you want to think about it, which is creating a lot of security threats, not just cyber threats, but supply chain threats, space, air, drones, AI, a lot of electronic warfare. Things that are happening with quantum and AI are amazing now. So we look at big threat areas, and we look for the biggest total addressable markets. And then we try to come back and reverse engineer what companies fit that thesis and what ones are in the 20 to 80 million revenue range, our window. Then we identify those companies and we really look to due diligence the tech, the second T. Can the tech scale? Can it scale quickly? Is it been built to internationalize and localize language? Has it been built on multiple hyperscalers? Does it leverage cloud, and AI, I like to say? And is it ready for prime time to scale? And so if you can get the TAM and the tech right, the last remaining one was what I talked about earlier, human engineering team. Can you get the right team in place? Because you put an A-plus CEO together with an A-plus company, wow. You put a C-minus CEO and management team with an A-plus, bad things can happen. So how do you really get the team right? So we look at team and our ability to influence that team and coachability and mentoring, but also the tech and the TAM, and that's our thesis.
Nice. I want to plug a couple of other things. We've got Night Vision and also the NightDragon Innovation Summit. What's that?
Well, part of our platform, Joseph, has been around 5 key areas of value. And I'll quickly say one's talent. We talked about human engineering, people, team. Another one is around amplification or marketing. So we like to help our portfolio companies with marketing. And I'll come back to that in a second. The third one is distribution or partnering. So we can help with partners and channel and development, system integrators, et cetera. The fourth area is government, and the fifth area is M&A. And so coming back to marketing for a moment, our goal through summits and Night Vision is to create content that can be amplified by media to help create some sort of message to the world. And that message in the world is usually about a threat or a risk, which is great for education, but also it might be an area where we have a company whom we can evangelize a bit as part of that threat or that risk. And so we use our Night Vision events to work with public-private partnerships, this being the government together with private industry. We work with innovation summits to showcase a lot of young, new talent and bring a lot of security professionals to the environment. And we use these events. We pretty much do 1 or 2 a week. And much like yourself, it's a great platform to create influence.
Yeah, nice. The state of cyber as well. I love that when you've released a few of those. I really enjoyed those ones. Look, I know we're coming close to the time, Dave, so we're going to have to do a part 2 on this. But look, as we're wrapping up towards the end of this year, what are your predictions for 2024?
Wow. I didn't see that in the question.
I know that's just off the cuff, that one.
I got a couple of responses for you. You know, I'll start out with kind of the tougher side because I like ending things in a positive way, my personality. But the tougher is I kind of see 2024 as maybe one of the more seminal years in American history, maybe even in all of our world history. And that's a big statement, but you know, we have a lot of confluences coming into play here as we come into 2024. You all know Russian-Ukrainian conflicts, Israeli-Hamas conflicts. We've got a lot of tension in the South China Sea, or as the Filipinos like to say, the Western Philippine Sea. You've got, you know, a lot of tensions around the world. And then you have these democracy elements in 2024 with America. You have a highest threat environment we've ever seen in cyber. It's just physical threat, digital threat, geopolitical tensions, motivation, capability, all wrapped in one. Creates a fairly ominous outlook going into 2024. The good news side of it is, you know, we've seen a couple of new technology breakthroughs that in my 35 years, you know, this is maybe the third one in all my career, maybe even the biggest one. I don't know. I measure like the invention of the internet during my time and phones, but generative AI has got the power to do harm and to do help. And so as humans on this planet, how do we make it do help? And especially in the world of cyber and physical threats, there's a tool now that can really help leapfrog the attackers or let the attackers leapfrog the defenders. So it's a very interesting year. And then couple that with quantum computing environments, couple that with some of the advancements we've seen in the cyber space for security, and then hopefully an improving economy and an atmosphere where we're able to get companies public again. And, you know, we just had kind of a weird 2-year hiatus from a lot of liquidity opportunities. So I'm positive on one side where, directionally we're heading pretty okay. I say pretty okay, not great, but pretty okay when it comes to economic conditions and positive things around labor and positive things around interest rates and things that can really affect the economy. But boy, when you look at the threat environment, it just creates a half glass full and a half glass empty kind of scenario that, keeps me on edge. But listen, we're here at NightDragon to help in every way we can, and hopefully our companies can make a difference too.
Absolutely. And brother, wish you all the best of success, and we'll definitely get a beer next time I see you on the conference circuit. Good
Thanks
man.
for having me. Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
brother. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed today's show, please like and share with your friends and colleagues, as this is really important for the show's reach. If you'd like to be our next guest or are interested in Aspiron Search's staffing solutions, please get in touch directly with me or reach out to us via our website www.aspironsearch.com.